The fire service is a lifestyle. Some of us grew up knowing that this is what we would do. Others found it later in life. We all have a story to tell. We live a career of experience and knowledge. But what happens when we retire? All that knowledge and experience walks out the door. Welcome to Capture the Knowledge. Bob Bruce, retired captain out of Metro Fire. You were the class of what, 2018, 19? When did you retire?
18. Yeah, 18, I believe.
Okay.
17, maybe 17, I don't know.
Yeah.
4 years. I don't know, you do the math.
Yeah.
Yeah.
4 years now.
4 years now.
It's 2022. When did you retire? Which month? Do you remember?
December. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. The day that, the month that I actually hit 50.
Okay.
That was always a goal of mine to get out, no matter where I was and promotional lists or anything like that, you know. Always very, very, it was a goal of mine. I mean, I love the fire service. I miss the fire service, but there's so much more after the fire service that I wanted to enjoy and, you know, kind of get back with the family. You lose a lot of family time when obviously, you know, that you work and, you know, there were some underlying health issues that was really made this decision very, very easy. And I wanted to get out and enjoy my retirement and do as much as I could until that day that the good Lord called me. So I started in 1988, and basically I was going to San Joaquin Delta College for fire science program, and I got an opportunity to work for Woodbridge Fire for an internship during the summer, and that's when my career kind of started. Worked for 3 months and really got an introduction to grass fires, wildland fires, and things like that. During that time, I started testing for another organization down south, just Manteca, Lathrop, which it was at the time. And when the internship ended, I got an opportunity to work for Manteca, Lathrop. And very small, 3 stations, and staffing was 2-0 for the 2 outlying stations and 3-0 for the main station in Lathrop, the city of Lathrop. Learned a lot. You learn a lot when you are a part of a 2-person engine company and your second due company is a good 15-20 minutes away. Fortunately, after I got off probation, we were all firefighter engineers, so you know we had a pump and all that stuff. And one day the chief came and said, "Bob, we're putting you out to the outstations. We're giving you a brand new guy. Go out and do good things." And let me tell you, it was a learning experience. You learn really, really quick, and you know, fortunately, I learned some great things that when I was fortunate to get hired in Sacramento County in 1993, I brought a lot of that experience over and was able to utilize it with that organization. So. Yeah. What an opportunity for a lot of folks, and you know, very similar to my experience. What I would imagine was that, you know, some of the laterals that Metro now may be seeing are from these smaller organizations that, you know, do indeed bring over some experience, just because you have to do so much more with less. And you know, the experience of being a brand new firefighter, but also in the officer's role per se on a 2-person engine company with a brand new guy, you learned quick, and you learned a lot about size up and about line placement, everything that encompasses calls that they're going to run with Metro. I remember getting out of the tower at Metro and getting assigned to Station 61 over Rancho area. And I was talking to the firefighter that was assigned there that day, and I said, so, you know, if we had a structure fire today, we pull up, the captain's doing his arrival, what's your thought process as far as line placement? I mean, things like that. And he looked at me kind of quizzically and said, what do you mean? And I said, well, I mean, do you, pull the line? Does the captain have a specific line that he likes? Or, and he just kind of was staring at me, and he goes, I don't understand what you're asking. I pull the line that the captain tells me. And I'm sitting there thinking, okay, but don't you try to think ahead and plan ahead and get ahead of what the captain wants? I mean, I would think as a firefighter that would be your goal, that hopefully you could be on the same playing field as the captain and be a step ahead, so you're helping him rather than just following orders, standing there waiting for that individual to basically give you direction. So that was kind of an eye-opening experience, and actually kind of said, you did learn a lot from that previous organization that has the ability to help you be a successful firefighter with, at that time, county fire, but now with the new people obviously being metro. So. Yeah, I was thinking the other day, after you and I spoke on the phone, and I was thinking how the fire service has changed since I first got into it, even with county in '93. And I was thinking about, the hose evolution, and how when I first started, 1.5 inch was, just the standard. I mean, it was, and then, somebody went to a class in Seattle or LA or whatever, and, they were running with 1 3/4 hose, and they'd come back from the class and say, oh, we got to go to 1 3/4 hose, because now 1.5 inch as of yesterday is not flowing enough water. So we got to go 1 3/4 because now there's so much more water. And so then we outfit everything with 1 3/4, And then pretty soon, guys aren't happy because, well, how do you get more water? Well, it's more pressure and larger diameter hose and all that stuff. Well, that then started creating issues with pulling and bringing lines and stretching lines into a residential structure with a lot of curves and corners and things like that. The maneuverability of the hose just wasn't there. And there's too much water. Now there's too much water. Look at all the water damage that we're doing and this and this. So, somebody goes to another class, comes back and says, we need to go back 1.5 inches. It's just things like that are going to change. But the bottom line is water still puts out fire. Big fires, big hose. Small fires, small hose. Everything in between, well, that's where the company officer earns their big money, But I was also thinking about the promotional process. And the promotional process hasn't really changed all that much. You still have the simulators, you still have the written tests, you still have the pumping and, all those things. But the big difference I see is back when I started in '93, we had such seasoned individuals in every rank that just happened to be there in that time frame where they were there for 20, 25 years, that it was not uncommon that people would take tests, promotional exams every 2 years, finish number 1 on the list, and die number 1 on the list. Mm-hmm. Within a 2-year span, there was not a promotion, or maybe 1 or 2, but there were not a lot of promotions. And in comparison now to where the turnover rate is so dramatic with Metro that it's very uncommon that if you don't get on a promotional list, you get promoted. I mean, it's very uncommon if the list is not actually exhausted and they have to test early. I mean, it's just amazing, It's not necessarily a bad thing. You get a lot of young people, they're very aggressive, very knowledgeable, and they want to promote. And, a lot of them have rockets tied to their behinds. Nothing wrong with that. I don't want to get hate mail or anything like that. But thinking about back when I first got into the fire service, when you have individuals that, and I'll use the word locked into that specific rank, because there's no promotable opportunities, you find a lot of people get very good at their jobs. a lot of career firefighters, you know, being a company officer, man, there's nothing more valuable to a company officer than a career firefighter. Somebody who wants to be there, somebody who recognizes the importance of that role and is happy to be there. That's huge for a company officer. And I think back in the old days when those promotable positions weren't there, you had a lot of those people. It's just a very, very positive thing. The new people coming in get mentored by these career firefighters, and there's just nothing better. They set them on a very positive path. They have pride in that position. I just think as more and more people promoted, it just made them better in the roles that they promoted into. You know, specifically as a company officer, you know, I had the privilege of being a firefighter for over 8 years before I actually promoted into the captain rank. And a lot of that time was spent on the ambulances, but a lot of that time was spent on the engine. And I got to be, I like to think, you know, a fairly good firefighter, you know, understood, was able to think ahead of the company officer, hopefully, and hopefully fall in line with his or her goals of that fire and just speed up the process of getting lines in place and things like that. When I became a company officer, because of my experience again with Manteca Lathrop and being a firefighter and understanding that pumping role and all that stuff, I think it gave me an opportunity to really evaluate the crew that was assigned and to really look at their strengths and weaknesses in their individual roles and come up with a plan, whether through training or classes or whatever, to make them better in their positions. You know, I just think that kind of stemmed back from that time that, again, I'll use the word locked into that rank when I didn't get promoted until we became Metro in 2001. And then the only reason there was so much of a mass exodus was the 3% at 50 when that passed. And then all of a sudden, all these firefighters that were under the previous retirement system, well, man, they just got a huge raise and people started finally pulling the plug. And that's what allowed for all those promotional opportunities to take place. So. Well, the heart and soul of any organization is the personnel. I mean, you know, it's always amazing to me, no matter all the turmoil at contract time or, you know, whatever the case may be. I mean, we know from time to time people get a little disgruntled. You know, I can only imagine right now, you know, COVID has just played a role so much in the mental wellness of the organization. And, you know, but the bottom line, the call comes in, we go and we do good things. And so the heart and soul, to answer your question, is the personnel. And, you know, I was so blessed to work with such great people over, you know, the 29 years I was in the fire service. And, you know, I don't see that changing. And, you know, thank goodness there's still people that want to do the job for the right reasons. And, you know, back when I started, man, we weren't seeing the money that the firefighters are seeing now. And I think it's great. I think we're finally getting paid for what we do. But, you know, back in the day, man, the pay wasn't anywhere near what it is today. And, you know, a lot of guys were working 2 jobs just to stay alive. I remember overtime. If you could get an overtime shift, oh my gosh, it was like the sky was opening up. I mean, it wasn't, oh, I'm going to work this day next week and that day next week because we're going on vacation or something like that. It was maybe one overtime shift every couple of months. I mean, it just, you know. So a lot of the things that we enjoy today, a lot of, obviously, the people before us didn't get that opportunity. And they truly did it for the love of the job. Can't always say that at the end of my career with some people that was a true statement anymore. I think a lot of people did it because it's a very lucrative career. I'm not going to lie to you. but hopefully deep down inside, everybody does this job for the right reason, and that's just to help people, help the community. Yeah, I kind of chuckle because I really had no desire to be a paramedic at all. The only reason I actually broke down to become a paramedic, and I just got done saying, doing the right thing to help people and all that stuff, and now I'm going to kind of contradict myself. But really, the only reason I became a paramedic was because at the time that I was trying to get into the fire service, there were a lot of specific, I'll use the word quota, that were trying to be filled in the hiring process from fire departments. So even though, thank goodness, I was doing relatively well on a lot of hiring lists, I was getting passed over because the organizations were looking for specific people. And so one of the ways to make me more marketable was to become a paramedic. That's when a lot of the agencies were just kind of thinking about going to the ALS routes and things like that. And I knew, okay, that probably more so than other things was going to be my ticket into a large organization such as county, metro, LA City, things like that. So I went to paramedic school and kind of liked it. Kind of thought it was, you never realize how handcuffed you are being an EMT until you actually see what you can do as a paramedic, Right. So became a paramedic, and lo and behold, second test afterwards, I got hired in county. And again, I came off a BLS engine company where I was a firefighter engineer and kind of out of class captain and things like that. And we were just started the academy. And one of the questions I had in my interview at the end, when they finally said, "Do you have anything that you'd like to ask us?" And I said, I'd done some research in the organization. I heard there was some talk about transporting this thing called ambulances, and what do you see the role of this class being in this organization? Oh, you guys are firefighters, and this and this. Yes, there is talk about ambulances, but nothing has been decided and things like that. So about day 2 or 3 in the academy, all of a sudden we started seeing some ambulances show up on flatbeds, and they basically said, "There's your fire engines, guys." And lo and behold, that class, they had gotten to the transporting business, county did, and they outfitted ambulances out in the streets, and sure enough, we were on ambulances. And in hindsight, it was probably one of the best things for me. I was a relatively new paramedic. I had been a paramedic a year before that, but working for a very small private ambulance that maybe ran 1 or 2 calls a shift, and didn't really feel comfortable yet as a paramedic. And best way to get comfortable was by doing the job. And I was running out of 61 at that time, and very busy ambulance, and just got tons and tons of experience. And I'll be blatantly honest with you, I struggled as a paramedic in the beginning, to the point where there were days that I thought that they were just going to say thanks, but no thanks. You're not fulfilling the needs that we have, and we don't have time to mentor new paramedics. We're into this new paramedic program, and we need people who can do the job right now out there in the streets. And there were many days that I'm driving home thinking, I know I'm going to get a call, just because, it, as a new paramedic, you have 1 or 2 good calls, and then that third call kicks you in your teeth, and it takes all the confidence away from you, and you start over. And I was having more and more of those calls and just struggling. And if it wasn't for some people in the organization that just pulled me aside and said, "Listen, relax, you got this. We trust you. We have trust in you. We know you're going to be able to do the job, but trust in yourself." If it wasn't for those conversations, I probably wouldn't have ended up where I ended up. So when we talk about giving back in the EMS world, I've never forgot that. And when I finally did get some confidence, and my biggest hurdle was I was trying to be other people's paramedics. I was trying to kind of mold myself into their assessments and things like that. And I was just out of my comfort zone. So it wasn't until I told myself, be Bob Bruce, your paramedic. That way, if you succeed on your own. If you fail, well, you failed because Bob Bruce needs help. Bob Bruce needs improvement. Don't fail because you're trying to be Jeff Malinowski and all that stuff. And once I got that out of my head, I started thriving in the organization. So when I was able to become a preceptor, I wanted to give back to the EMS world. I wanted to hopefully help somebody who was struggling and say, listen, come here, let's go in the back of the station. Let me tell you my story. Let me tell you where I was. Now you can see where I am, and that's where you're going to be. So I've always kind of remembered those key individuals that just kind of helped mentor me and get me to where I needed to be. And when I had an opportunity to give back to the EMS world, I definitely did that. I was very fortunate that opportunities through the EMS division kind of presented themselves throughout my career. I was very, very lucky that I got to be a major player in the single role paramedic program. I thought it was a fantastic program where, again, we could bring relatively newer paramedics. And I say newer because I think as an organization we were struggling to find those seasoned paramedics out in the field. We had just kind of got through that. I call it the second Great Depression, where the bottom of the budget just fell out. Housing prices went down, which affected our property taxes, which affected our budget. We were struggling to find paramedics, but we were even struggling to find quality paramedics even more than that. So the single role paramedic program, I thought, was just a wonderful opportunity for us to continue to get quality paramedics, but maybe also get those Bob Bruce paramedics that were newly licensed but just needed some experience and some guidance from some quality people. All the firefighter paramedics on the engine companies and the fire-based ambulances, and just kind of bring those people up to speed and basically introduce them to the Metro way. Also gave us a wonderful opportunity to evaluate people's work ethic and their drive and all that stuff through this program. It was just a great program. We incorporated EMS 24, which I think was a huge help to the suppression side as well, handling issues at the area hospitals, wall times, and things like that. The program looks a little different than originally when it's launched, from what I understand. I mean, I can't give you specifics, but we started kind of struggling with the single role paramedic program when originally we had kind of had them in the system for a year to allow them to get acclimated and prove themselves and get experience and all that stuff. And then our goal was obviously to move them over to the suppression side after they had proved themselves. Wonderful, great thing. They started pulling them over early. And, it was kind of one of those things, rob Peter to pay Paul. And, suppression was getting some great paramedics, but we were struggling on the backside to refill the ranks. And then the numbers started dwindling and then started shutting down. And it just, it really kind of affected the program. We had to do what we had to do. I was thrilled that they're getting pulled over early because that was our ultimate goal. I try to stay up on some of the single roles that were in the original, group and so forth. And heck, I see a lot of them now are company officers, and probably in a couple of years are going to be BCs. So, from somebody who was in the infancy of the program, now looking at the success of these individuals and how they've promoted through the ranks of the suppression side, man, what can you say? Very, 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 very excited for them. The health is, we all know firefighter is very dangerous. I was just reading an article the other day where, man, staggering percentage, 68% of our people, our fire family, at this current snapshot in time, through online retirement, 68% of our people are being affected by cancer. You think about that. You take a 3-person engine company. 2 of those 3 people have the potential to come down with cancer. Staggering. Just unbelievable numbers. I was one of those 2 people. In 2005, 16 years ago, I was diagnosed with stage 3 cancer, prostate cancer. And ironic thing, I mean, probably other than my college days, probably in the best shape of my life. Working out with the crew every day, working out at home. I was never a smoker. Very rarely did I drink, very socially. Was watching what I mean, just doing everything right. And started having some issues, urinary issues, and being 38 years old, you kind of just go, it's nothing, for God's sakes, I'm a firefighter, I'm a captain, I have my dream job, and it's nothing, I'm just getting a little old, Well, fast forward, and I jokingly say a sitcom actually saved my life, King of Queens with Kevin James. Didn't watch it religiously or anything, but I was assigned to Station 62 and got done with my reports early. Dinner was being made. I said, I'm going to sit down and enjoy a little TV. Flip through the channel, and there it was on. I'm going to watch it. That episode happened to be about prostate cancer. And I sat there and said, no way. But then I thought, you know what? You got a 7-year-old kid at home, 7-year-old boy. If it is something, don't you want to deal with it now? So I went to the doctor, and lo and behold, after being told, don't worry about it. You're too young. It's not anything, I was diagnosed with stage 3 cancer. And a little bit of metastasis. It had metastasized to lymph node and things like that, and so started pretty aggressive radiation and other medications. They chose not to do surgery because of the potential side effects of being 38 years old and so forth. So we were able to knock it down for a little while, but kind of the natural progression of it is moves into your bones. And pretty much it finally moved into the bones right around 2017. So I had some spot radiation taking place and things like that. And it wasn't until recently that started getting multiple spots. And the doctor said, we got to kind of shift gears now and go from treating it locally to systemically. So, let's see, almost 2 weeks ago now, I just finished my 7th round of chemo, hence my sweet due, and got 3 more to go. So at that point, he's going to reevaluate and see if we need to do further chemo or change drugs or things like that. And right now, we're just kind of trying to manage it. And man, I tell you, I'm enjoying life, and every day that you wake up is a blessing. But we have to, as an organization, as a crew, individually, we have to start taking care of ourselves, and we have to start thinking that, it used to be cardiac kills firefighters, and still does. But I think as a fire service in general, we've done a lot to kind of clean up our act at the dinner table and exercise and You know, when I first started, we weren't allowed to work out for an hour a day. You know, we didn't have that luxury, and now we do, and all that stuff. So I think we've made huge leaps and bounds in that arena. I think we've started in the cancer, but we really have to really make huge strides in that arena. And, you know, there's so many things, and I apologize. I don't know. I imagine Metro has done things to help that, you know, fight that cancer. But, you know, 2 sets of turnouts is huge. And believe it or not a lot of organizations actually have that. So that's huge as far as Metro's concerned. But, you know, just the simple things of wearing SCBAs, you know, during overhaul. You know, I'll be the first one to say I didn't do things right, and I'm paying for it now, I promise you. But, you know, the first thing I want to do is strip that SCBA off during overhaul. It's hot, I'm done, the fire's out, you can't see the smoke, but man, the off-gassing is still there. That's the stuff that's killing us. So, where are the SCBAs? I can't tell you how many dumpster fires I fought without SCBAs on. Why? I know, you know, everybody knows what people throw in that stuff. And, you know, I'm still dumb enough to sit there and I'll just stay up with it and I'll be fine. And no, we can't do that, you know. I think about my fire helmet that I had for so many years and the pride I had in it because it was all sooty and dark and it just showed, you know, I'm a fireman's fireman. Man, how much carcinogen is wrapped up in that helmet that you wear how many times a day? I mean, just silly things like that. Not taking an opportunity when you leave the structure, the scene, just to get the booster line out and just knock off the big stuff on your turnouts before you climb into that cab. I mean, I know it's cold and it's in the middle of the night, but trust me, I'd rather be a little cold than having to go through chemo like I'm going through and things like that right now. Man, we have such a great retirement system. Unbelievable. And I'm just living proof of that. But I am just struggling right now just to enjoy it as much as I can. And I don't want any one more of our fellow brothers and sisters to be diagnosed with cancer. We just have to make a concerted effort right now to prevent that. Please do it.
This video is part of that message.
Send it out.
Absolutely.
And you know, and I will say this. I see it as an honor. And again, I don't want anybody ever to hear those words, I'm sorry you have cancer. But if there's anybody out there, and it's not just the firefighters, but their family, if they have somebody that's struggling with a cancer diagnosis and that individual needs to talk to somebody, I don't know how to get my number, but please have them reach out to me. And, you know, I'm here. I've been through a lot. I wouldn't change it for the world. If they came back today and said, hey, we're going to give you an opportunity to go back, but you're going to have to jump through all those hoops again. Okay, when does the academy start? I wouldn't change anything in the world, but I've been through a lot, and I have some experiences. I have emotional experiences. I've had good days. I've had bad days, and these are all the things that you go through as a cancer survivor. And I just want, if anybody out there needs help with that diagnosis, family member, you have questions or whatever, man, I'm here for you guys. Call me if you need.
Bob Bruce, retired captain
sorry.
out of Metro Fire. Thanks for meeting with me on Capture the Knowledge today.
I appreciate your time.
Thank you.